So, Graeme, thank you very much for coming on the
GoingOB
Golf Podcast. Your company, organisation, came across my desk after a podcast with David Lawrence from Foremost Photography. Towards the end of the episode, he'd been doing some work with you guys. He loved what you were doing. I did a bit of digging into it, and I thought, yep, I want to give you a platform to get the message out there and just explain a bit more about the organisation and, you know, how people can get in touch, what you want to do with it. So really, it's just a bit of a chat, an open forum for you to explain a bit more about Caddie School for Soldiers, what you do, how you go into it. I've got a couple of questions from there, and then I might ask you a couple of burning caddy style questions that I have, because I don't know if you listened to my very quick Masters Roundup episode I did the other day, but I have a long running discussion with a good friend of mine about golf caddies, and in particular Rory McIlroy's golf caddy. So I'd like to get your opinion as somebody that's involved in that industry on what you think from there. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so if you just want to take a second to introduce yourself, and then you can just explain a bit about Caddie School for Soldiers.
Okay, so thanks for inviting me on, Craig. My name is Graeme Tones. I'm the chair of the Caddie School for Soldiers. We've been around since 2019, and the Caddie School for Soldiers was the brainchild of an American author called Don Snyder, who had seen just how, you know, traumatized ex-servicemen would be when they came back from various conflicts. And his own personal story really, you know, brought this wonderful organization about. It was his late father, who had served, you know, during World War II, had lost his wife while she was giving birth to Don and his brother. And it was his army pals who really, you know, dragged him back from the brink. And that stayed with Don, you know, up until, well, you know, now, really. And Don had always had a burning ambition to help those veterans who were facing real, you know, difficulties transitioning back to life, civilian life, in what we would class as everyday, you know, circumstances, and where better than to find mental well-being, which is such a, you know, big thing nowadays, but on the golf course. So Don came up with this idea. My own personal journey into helping Don came about by reading one of his books, which was about caddying for his son, who hoped to make it on the tour in the States. Now, I'm an avid reader, but I found myself glued to this book and ended up reading it in one afternoon. Now, I've got a young son who's thankfully interested in golf, and I'd done something that I'd never done, and I emailed Don to say, look, this is an amazing story. I hope that I have the same experience with my son going forward. Never expected to get a reply. All of a sudden, an email came back about half an hour later saying, glad you enjoyed it. We started talking golf. He told me he had this idea. This was in the summer of 2018. You know, this fabulous idea about helping veterans who've been injured, you know, or sick through active service, to get into golf and help them go anywhere in the world and, you know, basically start a new career. So I was like, look, I work in PR. Mm-hmm. I'm more than willing to give you any help that I can. He said that he had two other guys involved. One who is very prominent in golf is David Scott, who is the GM at Dumbarton, but also was the PGA captain for 2025 and is only the 6th honorary RNA professional. So what David doesn't know about golf probably isn't worth knowing either. Yeah. And then we had Davy Gilchrist come on board. Davy was twice voted Caddie Master of the Year in Scotland. So, Davy brought a wealth of experience, not only from the sort of what a caddy needs to do, but is a very fine golfer himself. So, the three of us helped Don with that initial program back in 2019. And that took place in, we had a house in Ely for the 6 soldiers. So we took 2 from Canada, 2 from United States, and 2 from the UK. We had a house in Ely that we used to rent. And because of David Scott's connections with the Old Course Hotel at the time, we were able to use the Dukes. Not only that, but thanks to the generosity of the Cola Company, they provided all the uniforms for us. So this fledgling organisation was really thankful to the generosity of, donors in the States who were stumping up not an inconsiderable amount to fund the school and pay for airfares, etc., and travel, but the Cola Company for providing all this marvelous uniform. That first session was an eye opener. Certainly from somebody who's coming from a civilian background, to hear the stories of just what these guys had been through, but then to see how much release they got out on the course. They suddenly went from being quite shy and introverted to, once they were out on the fairways and the green, to it was like finding a peace for them, and all the people that they had caddying through the various days, everybody respected them, and I think it just helped restore their self-esteem. Fast forward to where we are now, and we've grown from 1 session a year to we now host 3 sessions a year. We have an amazing house for the veterans to stay in, thanks to the Cola Company. Also, a huge thanks must go out to the St Andrews Links Trust, who have taken over what was the Dukes but is now the Craigtoon course. There's their help's been phenomenal in just saying, look, we've taken the lease over from the Cola Company, but it's business as usual for you guys. Anything we can do to help. They've been so gracious in providing, the tea times and the various facilities. And then everybody coming through has now got some awareness of what the school is about. And again, from my point of view, it's forging friendships. We're building relationships with local golf courses, local companies. We've got a great relationship with, the university in the town, who'll send up golfers. And some of the guys that we've had through have, caddied for some of the students. We've had Tess, who came over last year and was involved in one of the sessions from Canada. She's now utilising the skills that she learned on the programme to assist with a junior golf programme back in our hometown in Canada, which is just amazing. And then,
brilliant.
We've had, it's phenomenal. And we've had a guy, Barney, who was in the March session that's just concluded. He was a 1-leg amputee. But you know what? He never lost a day. He was out on that course every single day, carrying the bag. We've had a number of the veterans who've come through to just say, this has impacted my mental health in such a positive manner, so that the impact is not just with them, but it's when they go home to their family and their friends, they're seeing somebody completely different. Now, that to me is the biggest winner, because they might not stay, in golf, whether it's caddying or greenkeeping or, even playing. But the fact that they've come and they've rediscovered themselves, that to us is the biggest winner. And I think one of the biggest examples of that is a guy we had, Archie, just down the road, in North Berwick. I think he would admit when he came, very introverted, had his mental health battles, but what a transformation that we saw from that guy through the program. Every day, just a little bit, there was a greater chink of light, and he's gone on since leaving to now caddying at North Berwick, going to do some work at Dunbar, and he also caddied in the Scottish Open Pro-Am last year, and this guy is just like flying. It's so good to see, and that's what we hope to achieve, to bring these souls in, get them out on the golf course, that they have that bit of army banter with the vets in the house on a night time. They've got that camaraderie, but most of all, it's finding themselves again.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've got a few friends who are ex-services, and they do their time and they come out, and it's like, well, what am I going to do next? And like if they've been in since they were like 15, 16, a lot of them have skills but maybe aren't transferable when they come out. So it is a bit kind of like, where do I go with this? Aside from any of the kind of mental health side of things that they could be dealing with, just the actual, as you said, giving them a bit of a purpose and getting them to get out and about and do something. I think it's brilliant.
I think what they like as well, Craig, is we have a structured program, so they know every day who they're going to be caddying for, what time they've got to be up on a morning. They know that they have to be at the dinner table at 6, and yes, they get a few days off here and there, but ultimately they're here to learn the art of caddying under that structured program. And they've gone from that, really regimental life of, right, you're up at whatever, 6, 7 o'clock, you go on parade, or you go on, an op and you're back, to, again, what you were saying about what am I going to do, to all of a sudden having this little bit more structure in their life. And, we've seen some of the guys that have come through, we've got them caddying down in Florida, they're caddying in Canada, some are down at JCB, Royal Liverpool. We've got a couple of guys who are doing the old course. So when you see them and when you hear from them, it's amazing, because it puts into perspective some of the minor gripes, that you might have when, I can't get a piece of tech to work, or somebody's frustrating you in the office at work, to, well, how about being shot at, or in some circumstances, seeing one of your best mates, unfortunately die in front of you. I mean, how do you cope with that? It's incomprehensible, the fact that,
and then having to just get on with the job when that's happened next to you.
Yeah, exactly. So it just puts a lot of things in perspective. But these guys don't want any praise for it. They sign up because that's what they wanted to do. But ultimately, there's a great respect there from the people that, will come and the guys are caddying for. We had Colin McLachlan come down in March, and it was like these guys, almost looked at him as a bit of a VIP. But ultimately, they're all, serving the same purpose to, defend us against the bad guys.
Yep. No, it's like I said, I think it's great. So how do you select who comes onto the courses then? Can people apply for it, or how does that work?
So as I say, it's for those veterans who've been injured and suffered, whether it's mental or physical injury through active service. Now, what we've done is we've got an active mentor and an assistant mentor who have actually been through the program. So this we have quite a strict vetting process, because you know, we can't just have somebody turns up who wants to come and play golf for 3 weeks. But as I say, they have to have been, you know, wounded or injured through active service or suffered mental health, you know, PTSD as a result through active service. And, you know, we're seeing a lot of applications come through. And then, you know, they have to be able to navigate the course on foot. Now, if you've never played the Craig Toon course, it's very long, and some holes are quite hilly. Now, all credit to you know, Barney in the March session, because he was just phenomenal. You know, even with one leg, he was marching out there every day. But that's how we you know, we go through the selection, and now we're running 3 courses a year, where we cater for 6 veterans in each session. Applications are starting to ramp up as a result of, you know, word of mouth through the socials, what they might have seen on various podcasts, you know, like this. So yeah, it's good. But as I say, because we're a not-for-profit, you know, we're having to rely on grants and donations to keep everything going. So that's probably another side of it, where, you know, we get the veterans through, but we've got to make sure that we're still running a program that is of the highest quality, and that we're able to make sure that we've got the funding, because, you know, airfares over the last couple of months have just gone through the roof since, you know, the events in Iran. You know, the carrier charges have increased. You know, even for people to travel, whether they're driving, petrol and diesel's gone up. So there's all little things that you start to factor in. And certainly, you know, being involved in the admin side of it, you become more aware of the costs and, you know, what can we do to make it more cost effective in certain areas. But yeah, you know, what are we in now? 2026, been going since 2019, with a break where, you know, COVID impacted everybody's best laid plans. But if there's any, you know, anybody out there wants to make a donation, then, you know, please get in touch. It's all going to the school. Shameless plug there, I know. But
no, you're quite right. Take this opportunity. Is it just through Caddie Schools?
Yeah, just
.com, is it?
www.caddieschoolforsoldiers.com. If you haven't managed to, there's a film on there that we did in 2019. I would advise anybody to watch that, but please make sure that you've got some tissues, because I watch it now and I must have seen it, you know, a dozen times, and it's quite it's not quite impactful. It's very impactful, and you'll just find out what these guys have gone through.
Yeah. Well, what to do is, when we're finished recording, if you can get a hold of that video and send me it, and I'll add it into this.
Yeah,
and we'll
definitely.
Make sure it plays as part of the YouTube one when that comes out from there. So once they're accepted onto the program, as I said, I went through your website. So it's like a 5-step kind of course, isn't it?
Yeah.
So can you just talk a wee bit more about that? So what somebody could expect when they get onto the
course? So what happens is they'll go into the captain's room up at the Craig Toon course, and David Gilchrist will deliver a presentation about what is expected. You know, they sign an agreement and a contract that, you know, they'll attend unless they're sick. They're given they have their unique Caddie School for Soldiers bibs, which, you know, just like any caddy out on the pro tour, the white bib with the logo, the name on, etc. They have their name on the little badge, and Davey will take them through who they're going to be caddying for on the plan, outline everything, talk to them about what they need, you know, a damp towel, you know, teas in their pocket, a pitch mark repairer, all the little things, because it's all the little things that make the experience of the golfer. He'll also talk to them about how they need to introduce themselves to their golfer, you know, talk to the golfer themselves about, you know, What do you like? Do you like yardages to the back, the front, or the middle? You know, asking them how far they actually hit, what the handicap is. Is it about a score today? Is it about just having fun? Just all the little things that build that relationship between the caddy and the golfer. Then on some of the days, and this is where, you know, they're really lucky. David Scott, as I said, who is just a fantastic golfer, and, you know, so many connections in the golfing world. He takes them out onto the course and he basically gives them a masterclass, and he'll tell them little tips about how to get out of a bunker, you know, what to do when the wind's blown, you know, little shots, manipulation of the club. And it's almost like you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi delivering the Jedi of golf lessons to these guys, and you see them every single time. You see them every single time. They're like kids on Christmas Day, wide-eyed, say, wow, this is great. Because David will say, right, I'm going to hit this maybe about 3 foot. This is a shot that you need when it's under the wind. This is how you would do it. And he'll execute it perfectly. Then he'll say, I'm going to hit a draw. This is how you would, you know, this is how you'd hit a draw. And he'll execute it. And the same with a, you know, like a baby fade, etc. But one of the most important lessons I think some of the guys have learned is how to light a cigarette in a gale force wind in a coat. So, you know, they're the little things, Craig. They're the little things.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the basically they'll go and caddy. The golfers will give feedback to Davey, and then that will be worked upon all the way through the session. Then at the very end of the session, the caddies will play for they have an opportunity to play amongst themselves for the Caddie Cup. And then the last day, we invite 6 golfers up to the Craig Toone course. They'll be drawn with one of the caddies. And it's ultimately, this is for the Snyder Cup, which is like the Holy Grail. This is the Open Championship trophy of the Caddie School for Soldiers. And the winning caddy and his golfer, they get a quake. And then at the very end, this is something that is quite unique to the school. The soldiers are given a coin which has the Caddie School for Soldiers logo on one side, and then on the other side, it has a lovely picture of Herb Kohler. Now, Herb Kohler was right behind the school when we started, and it's our way of paying tribute to that guy who said, I will help you. I will help you with these veterans. And, you know, managing to provide us with some accommodation, you know, the course, the uniforms, and it's just a phenomenal day. And that's, you know, where we have David, thankfully, David Lawrence, who comes along. He'll be hiding in the bushes with his long lens, taking his shots, which just add to the day. And it's become a little bit of a tradition that David will present the winning caddy with a lovely piece of photography of the Craig Toone Clubhouse.
No, he was waxing lyrical about it. You know, the work that you guys are doing and how good it is to come up and photograph the guys when they're out there. And he's like, it doesn't feel like a job. You know, like he just comes up for the day. As you said, hides in the bushes, takes some photographs, and then gets to kind of socialise with them all at the end. So, no, it definitely sounds like a really, really worthwhile cause. So, I'm glad you came on, because I did want to know more about it. So, yeah, Caddie School For Soldiers.com. If anybody's looking to either sign up, learn more, or ultimately make a donation, which is what we would like to see happen. On the back of that from there. I think that's kind of you've covered all angles. Like I said, I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak about the Caddie School. So I hope I hope my kind of listeners think that you've done that. So
Darren McDonald from Ontario, Canada. I retire on the 15th of January administratively. I'm working at a golf course part-time, and gives me a free membership to golf when I want. Prior to coming here, I was with the CANSOFCOM, which is Canadian Special Operations Forces Command as a whole. I belong to a unit called CJIRU, so Canadian Joint Incident Response Unit. And we all fall under the Special Operations. I've been there for the last 18 years, and then prior to that I had 27 years total. I was basically a heavy equipment operator and transport. So anything big and heavy, that's what I was running. Yeah, so on the releasing process, so obviously I had some injuries throughout my time. And then as I wasn't at work, because technically I'm there on paper, but I haven't been to work in probably a year and a half. So I was a troop warrant at the end. So I had 42 guys under me, and we spent years together, and then it just went stop. So that was the hardest part, and trying to get myself motivated to get out of the house, get off the couch, was getting harder and harder. So coming here was a big breath of fresh air, being able to sit with guys I've never met before, and that all shared the same similar aspects. And then listening to them just jive, and then we got into a little bit of a brotherhood there, because we all understood and we knew our boundaries. So we didn't want to say like, hey, were you here, were you there? We just said, hey, how's your day doing? And it was just, everything was uplifting. So every morning we start with a hug, and we just carry on. It's been great. And the guys that I'm with on this course here, they all got your back, and anything goes. They're there to keep you straight and narrow and expect the same in return. So I got that brotherhood back that I was missing, and the camaraderie's phenomenal. Absolutely. It's something I was looking for, and I didn't know where to find it. And upon coming here that first week, I just took that big breath, and I was like, okay, now I found something that I can be myself, find myself again, because before here I wasn't myself. So I'm slowly getting out, and and listening to some of the guys' experiences, and not in great detail, but some of the troubles that they're going through, and realizing, hey, that's the same stuff I'm going through. So just trying to get a little feedback, saying, okay, what did you do to get yourself motivated, get out of the house, or getting into crowds of people? It was pretty well explained to me from all the guys in separate occasions, and it all was the same at the end. Everything that I was getting from them, it was like, all right, we're all on the same page here. So it was just a complete breath of fresh air, put the smile back on my face, and getting outside every day was just the bonus. Well, the future's looking a lot better than what it was before coming here. That's for sure. The big network is a big one for me, because now I have a huge brotherhood of people that I've met here, and people that I haven't really met here, but I've heard about. And all the connections on some of the courses that they're working, and they're all arms wide open. If you want a caddy here, come on. If you want a caddy there, we'll get you there. So that's a big one for me, because going home in Canada, there's not as much caddying going on as there is here, obviously. So we have a course in Cape Breton there that's closer to my home, and I've already got my in there. There's one of my good friends that pretty much got me here. He's caddying there at the moment, and he said, I already got your name forward. They're waiting to meet you. So that's all up and up from there, and doing the same thing I'm doing here every day. So just get out, and then I'm closer to home. I can still be with my family.
What about Graeme, the golfer himself? Do you play? What's your history of the game?
So I'm an 11 handicapper at the moment, with an aim to. The aim is to get into single figures, and a lot of my time at the present is my little boy who's 10 is into it as well. I started off when I was maybe 12 or 13, and I see the equipment that kids have now. I started off with a 2-iron that was handed to me by my uncle, and every time you hit it, it used to reverberate through your fingers.
Through your body. Yeah.
You'd be shaking. But now it's I try to get out with now the late nights are coming along. We try and get out together. We'll have dinner, like we take it basically what is a packed lunch, but for tea time out on the course. He thinks it's great. We'll play maybe 10 holes on a night time, so it's giving him that experience. And honestly, if he got the single figures before me, through the years that are coming, that would be good for me, as long as he enjoys the game, because you meet so many great people through the game. I've made so many good friends through being involved in the Caddie School. To be invited onto a podcast like this is a first for me, and I hope everybody can understand me. It's just, golf's great. It's no respecter of status. It's no respecter of age, or sex. If you go out and enjoy it and you play abysmally or you play brilliantly, there's always something that drags you back for another round. And that's what I love about it. You can play in beautiful sunshine. You can play in howling winds or frosty conditions, but there's always something that brings us back to getting on that first tee and trying to pipe that drive right down the middle.
Yeah. No, it's definitely it's very infectious. I tried to get my son into it a couple of years ago when he was younger, but it's just too slow for him. He plays football and stuff, so see the whole walk to a shot, wait and things. It's a bit it's too slow a pace for him. So my daughter comes up to the course for me. Sometimes my wee girl's 9, so I've dragged her along a few times. But she just likes to come along and jump on it. I've got one of the motor caddies, right? So she jumps on it. There's a photo here actually. I don't know if you'll be able to see it properly, but she hangs off the buggy, off the motor caddy, and then you just buzz along, and then I'll normally let her go. She's got a wee putter, so she'll come up and she puts the shot. So she thinks I'm brilliant. Like, Dad, you're superb. You can get hit the ball that far, and I'm like, yeah, you should see me up against my pals where I'm like, I'm 100 yards behind where the rest of them are. So yeah, it's definitely, like I said, very, very infectious. And I do think there's definitely conversations that can be had on the golf course. I'm a massive advocate for people opening up and speaking. And I've had a number of guests on the podcast where we've discussed that. Like, you're going to be with somebody for 3.5, 4 hours, check in on people. You're on the course with them. And if your pal that you've played with and you speak to all the time, something feels a wee bit off, how you doing today, mate? What's going on? And then, try and get folk to open up. So I think it's definitely a great sport for that, and that seems to be as well what you guys are doing with the veterans, from the mental health side of things, getting them to have conversations, be out and about.
Definitely,
give them a purpose.
It's surprising that it's almost like that golf course is an open air therapy centre, and that goes for the guys that we have through the Caddie School, but also with the guys that I play with on a Saturday. You can go out and you can stand on that first tee sometimes with the weight of the world on your shoulders, whether it's a personal or a professional matter. And people will pick up on your demeanour. And, as you say, it's how you doing? They might be aware of something that's going on. How's the issue with X and how's the issue with Y? And people will open up. And by the time you've maybe finished your 18 holes, you come off and you're a different person, because people have been able to offer you advice and give you a different perspective on something, or you've just been able to unload, which I think, certainly in this day and age, bottling things up isn't the way to go. And, look, we're guys, and sometimes you've got to keep it all in to be strong. Not anymore. Just, I would advocate to anybody you've got to let it out. You have to let it out.
Yeah, and these guys you'll be seeing that firsthand with these these veterans, like you said, when they first come on to it, they'll maybe be a bit inclusive and they're not prepared to speak, but by the end of it, they're all trading literally war stories and getting these things off their chest and hopefully feeling better for it at the end. So, no, it's definitely an open-air therapy space. That's the best description I've heard of a golf course. And that is what they should all be. Certainly from an amateur level as well. I mean, I went down the rabbit hole a few years ago where I was going to the golf and I was hating it because I wasn't improving and I was coming home miserable and I did X, Y, and Z. And then I spoke to a lady who she does golf coaching in the States and she does kind of the side of the mental side of the game and stuff. And she just asked me she's like, does your golf pay your mortgage, Craig? And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, what are you stressing about? Like, are your kids fed and clothed? I says, yep. She's like, have you got food at the table? Yep. Right, well, just go and enjoy it. It's your pastime and your hobby. Why are you stressing about it? And the penny dropped. And see, since then, I've not improved at the golf any, but I'm now no longer stressed out about, oh my God, I've had a birdie on that one and then I've just quadruple bogeyed the next again hole, which happens a lot. So, it was good that she was able to kind of tap into that from me. So there. But no, I definitely take on board and I'm a big advocate for your open air therapy sessions. Got a couple of caddy questions for you, right? In your opinion,
pressure.
I know, no, they're dead easy for you. I'm going to save the big, the really difficult one that I discussed at the start for last, right? So what makes a good caddy in general? What do these guys at the end of it? What makes them a good all-round caddy?
So, in my opinion, I think it's knowing your golfer pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to be a caddy that talks too much when your golfer just wants silence. You know, you don't want to be a caddy that, you know, is offering all sorts of advice when it's not needed. So it's establishing what that golfer wants before they hit their first tee shot. Do they want help with putts? You know, what yardages do they want? Do they want to choose the club themselves? Or are they completely reliant on you because you'll know the course, you'll know the ins and outs of what is required. Excuse me. So yeah, are they playing? Is it serious? Are they playing in a match, or is it just completely for fun? So having that, you know, key information, being prepared at the start, I think is key, and that's what makes a good caddy.
Yeah, because I mean, we had a discussion on the course the other day with myself and my pals just about that question, kind of what makes a good caddy, and it's an interesting dynamic with the caddy player side of things, because there is players that want somebody to come on. I personally would want somebody to have a conversation with walking around the course, right? Like trading war stories, having a bit of conversation about the weather, whatever, right? And if they're able to give me a few pointers and, right, you need to do this and whatever else. I'm not saying I could execute the shots, but I'd like them to try and tell me from there. Mm-hmm. Whereas there's these other people who, well, you hear about them on the pro tours and stuff, just keep up and shut up. Hey, pick that bag up, follow me to where my ball is, hit the ball. I don't want to speak to you. I don't think that would be a good dynamic. My personal opinion is, I think that if it was me, I would want the chatty caddy and the one that can tell me some stories and we have a bit of banter going around, because that would relax me, and then I think I would potentially play a bit better from there.
Yeah, you also want your caddy to be honest as well. I've certainly my style. If I was caddying, I'll be, you know, the supportive one. But if somebody hits a poor shot, you're not going to turn around and say, "Oh, great shot," because it's Emperor's new clothes, right? But there's a way of being able to say, "All right, maybe you didn't hit that how you wanted to. However, if it's, you know, gone straight and it's gone 100 yards down the fairway instead of 150, you can still turn it into a positive without being, you know, over the top, you know, oh, that was great, when sadly, you know, we know it wasn't.
Yeah, because we all know our own games, eh? And like you said, if we've only hit 100 yards and stuck it in a bunker and somebody tells you that it's brilliant, you're like, aye, good, Jim, thanks. They'll automatically lose credibility.
Aye.
That'll be it from there. Right, I'm going to ask you this burning question that I have. and you can be as diplomatic with your answer as you want. All right. So, Rory McIlroy won his second Masters last weekend, right? And he won it with Harry Diamond on the bag, right? Who has been his caddy now for a number of years. My personal opinion is Rory McIlroy would have won more competitions in majors had he had a caddy who wasn't a friend of his. So when he had JP on his bag years ago, there was rumours that the two of them had a bit of a fallout because Rory got a bit kind of, I want to be playing these shots, and JP had said to him, this is what I think you should be doing, and there became that caddy-player conflict, right? Is my understanding of how that had happened. And then Rory got his pal on the bag, who he obviously feels very comfortable with. But Harry Diamond is a friend to Rory McIlroy, first of all, but he's then an employee of Rory McIlroy. So is he going to be able to say, I don't think you should be playing that shot there, Rory, which then potentially costs some competitions and prize money and major championships. So that was a roundabout way of me saying to you, I think Rory would have won more had he been with an established caddy rather than a pal, and had it more of a business arrangement than a friend. What's your opinion on that? You can not necessarily just with Rory as well, but other players as well now. We can be a bit more broad with it. But
so I think what I would say is that, you know, he's one of the greatest golfers of his generation, and probably, you know, one of the greatest golfers of all time. I think with all major winners, you know, they have a strong personality, and, you know, they're never going to be solely reliant on somebody saying, what type of shot should I play? For them, it's, you know, they make the decision. The caddy is there, in my opinion, to offer advice and say, okay, if it's like a 250-yard carryover water to the front of the green, or you can lay up 180 yards to the right, which is going to be the guaranteed play, and still, you know, give you an opportunity of a birdie rather than taking the riskier approach to have an eagle chance. I think it depends on the circumstances. It depends on how the round is going. You know, is he hitting it solid? Is he confident? Because if he's 50-50, every day I'm saying you take the safer play. Mm-hmm. And if they're saying, well, no, I feel it, it's not a case of I told you so, but you've offered the advice. Now, being a friend is, you can flip it and think that actually, you know what, Harry Diamond's in a better position than JP ever was, because he'll know Rory inside out, and he could argue with him and say, look, this isn't the right play. I'm telling you that this is the safe play here. You just have to look at how Billy Foster was with Seve.
Yeah.
Seve never listened to a thing. Billy Foster said.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But Billy was the voice of reason, saying, you know, you need to go over there, Seve. That's the safe play. Then all of a sudden, Seve's saying, no, I see a window of about 3 foot. And Billy's saying, no, you need to go that way. Next thing you know, Seve's put it through the smallest window in the world. What's the role of the caddy there? Just to carry the bag. Yeah. Because if he doesn't listen, you can offer advice, but at the end of the day, it's down to the golfer who decides to whether he listens to it or whether she listens to it. And I think, you know, maybe in the early days there was a degree of Harry being not submissive. That's probably the wrong word, and doing him a discredit, but, you know, probably just saying, right, I'm quite new to this, so it's whatever Rory says I'm going to go with. But now he's been on the bag for a good few years, been in high pressure situations, you know, Ryder Cups, the Masters last year with the playoff with Justin Rose, to this year, and he's probably found his voice to say, you know what, I think that this isn't the right play, or you do this. Now, if it doesn't then come off, who's to blame? Is it the caddy's fault if the shot doesn't come off, or is it the golfer's fault for not executing it properly? You know, you can look at it from both sides.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a case of ifs and buts and maybes, right? If JP had stayed on the bag, would Rory have won more? Or if somebody else had been on the bag, like, you know, a Bones Mackay, or, you know, somebody.
Well, I think,
you know, like,
I think he should have went for Foster. So see when Fitzpatrick went away from Billy Foster, at that point was when I kind of brought that up to my pal. I was like, Rory should be banging on his door and saying, come and work with me. But then, as you said, they are probably too, what's the word? It's not corrosive. Like they would clash, because Billy would be telling Rory and Rory. It's just from what I watch, because I watch a lot of golf, they'll walk up to the tee, and the 18th I thought on Sunday was ideal for that. So Rory's got a 2-shot lead standing on that tee, and Harry Diamond puts the bag down. He doesn't utter a word, and Rory's pulling the driver out. Now that's a really narrow tee shot. So I would have liked to have thought that the caddy would have been like, Rory, you've got a 2-shot lead here. All he needs a par. Just get an iron or something and stick it on the fairway and stick the second one on. He takes driver, sticks it in the tree, and then he has to knock it round the tree. Like, I mean, he did really well to get out of there. But then you go the other side of it, you get like Jordan Spieth and Michael Greller, and like they two talk the whole way around the course. And the guy that's now
that is proper therapy.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And the guy that's now with Max Homa, Joe, I can't remember what, Grenier or something. He's very similar.
Yes,
he looks like he's like I'm not just here to carry the bag. I'm going to give you the benefit of my expertise. So I suppose it's one of these. It depends. Horses for courses, eh? My opinion is Rory, from when he let go of JP to now, he's let a lot of majors and stuff slip by, and I think it's because he didn't have a strong enough caddy to get him over the line. However, Harry Diamond has taken him to 2 Masters back to back, so I have to eat a bit of humble pie in that and say that works for them. I just think had he had a stronger caddy, sometimes he probably wouldn't be able to get something done.
And I mean, you can talk about that, but you need to look no further than Bob McIntyre, because we've seen him argue with his caddy and they stood on the tee, and his caddy will be saying, well, it's whatever, into the wind, and you need to hit this, come on, and they have it's like an open air argument. So to be a caddy sometimes, it's like I think you have to have very thick skin on occasions.
Yeah, I definitely think you would. I mean, well, look what happened when McIntyre had his dad on the bag when they went to Canada, and then he won it. And I bet he wasn't. From what I've seen and understand of his dad, I don't think Bob McIntyre would be arguing back with his dad. Okay, Dad, I'll play whatever club you want. Anyway, it's a debate that I will continue to have. But I just want to say that, Adam, I did ask the question of someone that is involved in the caddy world, and this is the kind of conclusion we've come to, because he's very much in the I mean, to the point where in the group chats I was always putting like sack the caddy whenever it was a Rory McIlroy mistake or something, and every time he won he did the same thing back to me. So again, this is these type of things that people can have a discussion about. That's why I do this podcast, because I'm getting to talk to people about a sport that I love, and the other people do as well. So we all share a common interest. So you can get proper discussions and debates going about who's right and who's wrong and who should have stepped off and who should have done what. It's brilliant. Love it. I love it. Anyway, if you don't have any questions for me, I'll wrap things up there. I'm about to go to line dancing. I do line dancing on a Wednesday, or I did on a Wednesday night with my daughter and my wife. Again, like I said, she's my daughter's 9 and she's involved in the dance world and she does all these things. So a few years ago, I was like, "You want to go to line dancing with me?" So we go in like the wee village hall, and then my wife's come along as well. But then my daughter started a new dance class, which meant we couldn't go all the time, but she's on the Easter break. So she's like, "Daddy, we're going line dancing tonight." I said, "I'm doing this chat first and I'll come up afterwards." So I'll go up and see her. So Yeah, unless you
I
have
think
anything
the only
else.
one I know, Craig, I was just going to say, I think the only one I know is the slush.
That's not a line dance. I did say that when I first went there. I'm like, can we do the slosh? And they're like, that's not a line dance. I thought, okay, well, that's me told. Yeah, exactly. So, do you want to just, where can people get in touch with you again? Just reiterate that. I know I've done it a couple of times, but there's always room for one more plug, Graeme.
Yeah. You can find out more about us at www.caddieschoolforsoldiers.com. Take a look at the video, read some of the testimonies on there, and if you want to donate, or somebody who you think would be worthy of getting involved with the school, just drop us a line.